This is Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
Now that we're situated, let me start with Terrence Wilson. Could you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
My name is Terrence Wilson. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana.
All right.
Community activist. I've lived here for 12 years. Moved here after Hurricane Katrina and became acclimated to working in the community. I've been working with an organization, Concerned Citizens in Memphis, where we feed the homeless every other Sunday. I started doing that October 2010. We were actually out this afternoon. I work with an organization called Left Foot Forward, an organization that's designed to address sexual abuse in our community. I work with an organization, Rhinos Nation, that teaches entrepreneurship in our community, an organization named Building More Wealth that teaches financial literacy in our community. And I'm happy to be here.
I'm Willie L. Henry Jr., and I prefer for my friends to call me Hank.
Right,
a couple
Hank.
of reasons. Most people call me Willie Henry, and then they ask me my last name. And it's also so that while he's a good guy to be confused with, often people think I'm Wiley Henry, so just call me Hank, okay? I was born in Smoky City,
All right.
in Memphis, Tennessee. I lived around the city, grew up here. I grew up watching the news, seeing young children bombed in Birmingham, watching young people face fire hoses, dogs, and explaining to a blind great-grandmother what was going on the TV. I grew up with a spirit of service, and I knew that one day it would be my turn to kick in. So when the sanitation strike came, I did. I was actively involved. I was there for Dr. King's last speech. I was sitting in the choir stand. I was sitting on the steps of Claiborne Temple when Harold Millbrook came out of H. Rap Jackson's office and said, "Y'all, Dr. King's been killed." I was there. I lived it. I saw my heroes die. I saw him kill Malcolm. When I was younger, John Kennedy was a hero. They killed Dr. King, the man who was about peace. That was a life-changing event for me. So later in my life, in my community service, I participated in organizations some people knew as the Invaders. Later with the Tennessee State Chapter of Black Panther Party. We did the first sickle cell testing public in the state of Tennessee and right here in Memphis. We made a difference and we led and forced the government into a position to do things for people. I'm not sorry for anything that I've done. And I'm not done doing.
That's right.
All right.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Do I need a mic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pump up the volume.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Greetings, Assalamu alaikum. Hotel. Peace and blessings to all of you all. I'm honored to be part of a distinguished guest, a gentleman who Cam has selected to be part of an information sharing with people who have been part of the movement and who concerned about where the movement is headed. I'm the seventh son of a photographer, family of 7 boys and 1 girl, and all the boys were photographers. We were all trained by my father, Ernest Withers, and I'm the last of the sons that is living of Ernest Withers. And of course, I grew up in the Walker Homes community. I went to YMCA camp, Ford Road School, Mitchell High School, graduated from the Mourner in college in political science. You know, just been involved in a lot of events because I was motivated by even my grandfather, who was Arthur Withers, Earl Withers, who was a founder of Congress Street Baptist Church, one of the co-founders of Owen College. So, you know, I'm standing on the shoulders of men, men of service that have been a part of this community for a long time. Of course, I've been doing photography since 1964. That's the first time. I was 9 years old at the time. That's when the first camera was put on around my neck. So, you know, I had the honor, of course, even being up with my dad, marching with Martin King at least 3 times. I can recall, you know, in 1966, you know, when we were there in the March Against Fear, after James Meredith got shot, and I was a little boy, 11 years old. My other brother, Darrell, was there, and Perry was there. We were all there in company with my dad. You know, you can pull that ABC footage out in the eyes of the prize. You know, these are moments of history that some people do not know about. You know, I lived it. I was afraid at that moment when I saw the police come and put in front of us and stop the marches. And myself and my brother, we were running around, and the police pulled up and said, "Y'all get off the pavement. Get off the pavement right now." And I didn't know what the pavement was. You know, I was scared as you know, I don't know what, because I was, and I kind of got a feel of the police at an early age. And then, of course, being in a lot of the mass meetings and just being drenched with the Black Power movement, you know. I had a brother that was an innovator, so, you know, my history goes on.
Can we speed it up?
We share it on, pass the mic on.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
My
afternoon.
name is Dr. Jeff Ryan Futrell. I'm the chairman of Young Man and Young Woman University. We're an academic system. Our focus for our scholars is academics and entrepreneurship, and we do it in the most realistic sense. All of our scholars have their own Tennessee corporation, tax ID number Dun and Bradstreet. I do not teach black students the hypothetics of business. I put them in business and have them run businesses. We own restaurants in the airport called Pre-Flight Cafe. We're at a farm. Right now, we have a bookstore that we're opening in Whitehaven. My solution to negative culture that exists in the city is simply ownership. And ownership through entrepreneurship creates good citizenship. So unless our children, and I'm really focused on our children because that's what we do, unless they feel a sense of ownership, we'll still be pondering why they do what they do, because they have no sense of ownership. So that's what we do at Young Man University. Lots of awards and from the work that we do, but our entire focus is their future. So that's what we do.
Excellent. And hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Brother Ron. I'm the founder and visionary behind We All Be News, Radio, and TV. And also, I'm the director of the We All Be Group Incorporated. It's a 501c3. It's not a church, but it's a 501c3. But my religion is creativity. I like to often channel that quote Dr. King had. He said, Human salvation lies in the hands of the creatively maladjusted. I'm a part of the creatively maladjusted. I don't have a suit on. Get the picture?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm an artist too. I'm an artivist. I use my talents to control my story, to tell my story. April is a special month. Tomorrow is the birthday of the one and only Paul Robeson. That's a one-man Wakanda. Take a look. It's all online. Look them up. So my thing is about using these tools of today to control our narrative, to tell our story. If you don't tell your story, you will always be the visionary or invisible person or the person on the sidelines. So that's what I'm here about. I'm just witnessing history and also try to make a little history as well. We all be TV, YouTube.
All right, thank you. First question, we're gonna get with it. The MLK 50 commemoration is over. Has Dr. King's dream become a reality, or is it a nightmare? Let me,
I'll be happy to answer that.
okay.
It has most definitely been a nightmare.
And why is that?
Well, his dream has not been realized, and on one end, the government has not. Of course, he's dead. So it's easy to celebrate the life of someone who's no longer here, and it's easy to control the narrative of his story. But that last speech of Dr. King, he gave a directive to us as a community. All of his other speeches were directed towards the government, but that last speech spoke to us as a community. He said that we need to unify. He said that we need to strengthen black institutions. He said that we need to support black businesses. He specifically spoke to us putting our money into black banks and black insurance companies. And as a black community, we did not take heed to that message.
Okay, Hank. Are the issues of Dr. King still relevant today, that Dr. King fought for?
Of course, he fought for human dignity. He fought for economic justice. He fought for a moral society. And so, yeah, all of that is very relevant today. There was a saying that you can kill the dreamer, but you can't kill the dream. And the dream lives. It only dies if it dies in us. And it has died in some of us. But maybe we can have a revival. We need a revival. It's time to get back in line. It's time to, strategies have changed, but some things have not. Supporting businesses with people that look like you. Our brother with IB, I've seen some of the stuff, I've seen emails from time to time, but it's my first time being in the room with him. But he should never have to look for anybody to sponsor what he's doing. We should be running to him to sponsor what he's doing, to help him maintain integrity. Because Coca-Cola, Pit High, AutoZone,
That's right.
they're not going to give him money to speak the truth.
That's right.
You go to the Civil Rights Museum, and everything in there ain't the truth, y'all.
Civil wrongs.
You got to understand. People who capitalize the thing, they control the thing.
That's right.
And so I'm saying that things like what this brother is doing, if we support him, if we support Ken, it can maintain integrity. It can keep the dream alive. It can have people, inspire people to not just say, oh, well, I got mine, you get yours. Some folks got to be the first ones to get a job and lost their doggone mind. Time out, y'all. It's over. That's over. It's time to go to the next phase. Time to go back to work. Time to get together. Now, we're not going to all follow the same person. And it was funny, one guy called me a leader, and I said, well, a leader? And I thought about it. I said, well, I don't know if I am or not. I never looked back to see if anybody was following. I'm going to do me. And I'm just saying to you that if you got a vision and you know there's something to do, you don't have to have the same dream. But don't criticize the brother in his dream.
All right, let me, Rome, I can't call you Rome now, right? Okay.
We call bad name.
Andrew Rome Withers.
Yes, sir.
Okay, do we actually need leaders like Dr. King to push and prod us toward economic prosperity and justice for black people?
Well, let me say, the philosophies and the talk of Martin Luther King and the books that he's written are still relevant today. And that we need people like him to continue to not only talk about it, but be about the business of doing. You know, Dr. King, you know, he gave his life for the movement. And the movement, and his, when he realized later on that, you know, that he had put us into integration, and he realized that he had put us into a hellhole. He realized that Martin King made mistakes, like we're all humans are going to make mistakes. And I think now what is going on now, that the spirit of Martin has been put into all of us in certain ways, and that we have to learn from people who are still living now. And one of my most important mentors who's still alive today, that I remember as a child, is Jim Lawson. He is the one that we should be listening to now for leadership.
That's right.
He has the books that he has been talking about. If you haven't heard Reverend Lawson, and he's 89 years old today. So men like Jim Lawson, these men like you have on this podium today, these are the men who are going to continue to take the steps, the brute force or the hidden forces that are trying to stop us from progressing. We have some serious racism going on in Memphis. In the courts, there's so many, in economics, we've been stopped, and just like Brother Henry said, they ain't gonna come give the people who are gonna bring out the truth no money. They ain't gonna come. They know you're gonna turn the other cheek, or if you're gonna compromise, they will. But if you're gonna be standing for the truth, you better learn. We got to learn to find ways to create our own entrepreneurship.
Thank you. Let's try to keep our answers a little short because we got so much to cover.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if I stop you, don't get upset. Okay.
Great job, man.
Okay. Dr. Petrell, since you're dealing with economics, let me ask you the same question. Do we actually need leaders like Dr. King to push and prod us toward economic prosperity and justice for black people, since you deal with economics and young men?
Okay, I think it's imperative that we call upon the wisdom of the elders from days long ago. I think that's something we should always do. That wisdom is there for a purpose, but we need to glean from it, draw from it all the time. I think I always say to parents, I lost my daughter at 6. She was murdered in gang violence. I've seen enough death to appreciate life. So here in Memphis, you should have seen enough disparity, economic imbalances to want something different. And if we hadn't seen it now, I don't know that they'll ever see it. So prodding, we shouldn't need. That should motivate us. But I always say, what drives you? What drives us to lay a foundation as opposed to a safety net for our children? You can't build on safety nets. So it's incumbent upon us to lay foundations. And that foundation is only going to come through ownership. So economically, we have to own. And if it doesn't bother you that we don't have a black gas station but one in this city, in a city that's almost 80% black, if it doesn't bother you that we don't have a black grocery store, what are we going to say? What are these meetings going to do? If that alone does not bother you, prodding ain't going to help you. So I don't think we need prodding, but I do believe we should always call upon the wisdom of the ancestors and the elders.
Right. Okay. Ron Hurd,
Yes, yes.
let me ask you about the assassination.
Okay.
Did the assassination, in your opinion, stunt Memphis's growth as an urban metropolis?
It was our response to the assassination that stunted our growth. It's not about what happens to you while you live in it, it's how you respond to what happens. That's how you take control of the situation, because a crisis is really an opportunity in disguise. All right. And the thing about Memphis 50 years ago, we were better off in Memphis 50 years ago. The economy was historically booming. That means if I lived in North Memphis and went to Manassas High School, I could drop out of high school and work at Firestone and support a family of 4, work their one job for 30 years, retire with a pension, and send all my kids to college. My wife would stay at home, be the teacher of the children, and provide in the home. 50 years now, you need a 2-parent, 2-provider household. You can't stay at home no more. And the cost of living has went up. See, the problem with the fight for 15 is the dumbification of America. It should be they owe you $30. It's not 15, they laughing at us, right? They laughing because they know they owe us 30. It's like sharecropping now again. And the thing about it is, it's not about one person. Like Dr. John Henry Clark said, you bury the man, you continue the plan. White folks organize. It's all about group politics with these people. Everything. And everything is warfare with these people. You know, 100 years ago, the Italians and Jews and Irish were niggers. But the reason why they became white or honorary white was because they organized. They took control of the police and fire departments on the East Coast. They took control of the unions and whatnot. That's how you get power in America. You don't get power through a black messiah. You get power through a powerful village full of leadership.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Race. Is there redemption for Memphis after years of racial conflict? Terrence. Is there a redemption for Memphis after years of racial conflict?
Well, that redemption will have to come from the people that have been victims of that conflict. Black people in Memphis will have to stand up and be men and women and take control of the communities that they live in. Black men and women will have to take control of the future of their children. As Dr. Futrell said, teaching ownership, preparing a foundation instead of a safety net. That's how we will redeem ourselves racially.
Okay. Hank. So once again, race, is racial tolerance something that we should hope for, or should black people pursue their own agenda?
This whole issue about race is a contrivance to keep people separated and to create economic imperatives, inequalities. 50 years ago, the young man spoke, he had to be a kid then, or he also read about it.
I wasn't even around.
Okay.
Yeah.
I grew up smelling Firestone in Smoky City every day. There was Firestone, Humco, Bruce. There was manufacturing in this city. There's not. What we have now is a situation where it being a distribution center, that they can work people in warehouses cheaply.
Right.
But in regards to race is something that was invented.
That's right.
To discriminate. Now what we have to be about is, we have to be about having pride in ourselves. See, I grew up in Smoky City where my shopping was done. The neighborhood grocery was owned by a black man. The sundry stores, there were sundry stores owned by black people. When my grandfather got his car fixed, it was a black man who fixed it. When my shoes got shined, a black man shined them. I mean, you know. But you see, we fell for this. Ron mentioned integration earlier. I need to be quick. But see, it serves some purpose, but it did some harm.
Yes.
We have to come together as a people and support each other. One of the biggest mistakes made in this city was when they surrendered the city school charter. Those politicians should be brought to task. Somehow, a couple of them managed to get elected to something else. I don't understand that.
That's right.
But it's time for us to wake up. It's time for us to start organizing and voting again. And being clear about it, holding people accountable. Listen, those people with the money, they maintain this inequality. They don't invest in education for people that look like us.
Right.
So giving them control was a way to make sure that we never got what we needed. Education is a big piece of it. Race? I wouldn't quit talking about race. Just look around at somebody who thinks like you, that probably looks like you, and support them. And there are some people that don't look exactly like you that we should support. We got some brown brothers and some yellow brothers and some red brothers that need our support too. And if you want to talk about Dr. King, there was some poor white folk that's been bamboozled. And as the man said, hoodwinked. I'm done.
Okay, Dr. Petraeus, how can we, since we're dealing with economics, how can we bridge the gap?
Which gap between?
The gap between,
Which one?
the gap between whites, blacks, economically.
Well, I mean, I don't know if those gaps can be bridged. I just think for us as people of color and at Young Man University, we say black. As black people, we have to stay to our focus. And our focus has to be our children. And we need forward thinking. I was in a meeting last night with a bunch of restaurant owners, and they were going on about the number of restaurants they own. And just a quick example. And one brother's talking about all the hot wing places he owns. I said, that's fine, brother, but dig this. If you never think to own a poultry farm, at some point, you skip the shit right. We have to have forward thinking for our children. We have to, if we're going to lay a foundation and not become a safety net. So when I think of bridging the gap, where are all the holes? If we think economically, then we got to build ourselves economically. That's what builds the gap. Sitting at a round table of equality is what bridges gaps. And that's what we try to do in what we call the fellowship. All of my scholars sit at the round table because they're all CEOs and presidents of their own companies. Well, that's how you bridge the gap. We got to build up. Otherwise, if everyone over 40 died today, our children would be in big trouble in this city because we own very little or nothing. So I bridge the gap by ownership creates good citizenship. Because when you own, and let me give you the rudest example I can give you. I spent 11 years in prison despite the PhD and all the stuff. But when I was in prison, I had to clean the cell in the prison. The warden used to come down and say, hey man, this guy's cell cleaner than my house. What do you, I got wax on the floor, the incense burning, the whole 9 yards, because I didn't know another way to live. It didn't matter where I was.
Right.
It mattered the spirit that was in me that took ownership. Now they could have moved me at any time. But I took ownership in the place that I was in. And unless we give our children a sense of ownership, we're going to keep having ghettos in this city, and they're going to keep doing the same stuff they've been doing because they have no sense of ownership.
Thank you. Okay.
One quick word.
Okay.
Sanitation strike. Boycotts. NAACP used to say, well, we're going to get $2 bills, and we're going to go get these white folks our money so they can know how much money we give them. Hell, they know how much money we give them. Now, you want to change things? We have to start spending our money with people that look like us.
That's right.
We need to start capitalizing. This man said a poultry farm. I never thought about a poultry farm, but it's the truth.
That's right.
Why are you still buying your chickens from Tyson to sell to your people? Raise your own chickens.
Right.
There's a man named Claude Anderson you're pretty familiar with, I'm sure, that's well worth a lot of us becoming familiar with, that talks about how we come out of this mess that we're in.
Okay, let me go to the black church. The black church.
Oh, who question is that? It's Sunday. Come Sunday.
Ron.
Oh, damn. Okay, all right. All right, damn. Okay.
The black church, the black church was during the civil rights movement. I mean, it was pivotal during the civil rights movement.
Right.
What do you think about the black church today?
Well, in the words of Baba D. Gregory, two of the most powerful forces in America is the black woman and the black church. The black church used to be an organizing mechanism. Like you look at, the thing about the black church is interesting. Because look at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was hated by a lot of ministers that looked just like him. They told his Daddy King, to go up to Montgomery and put your boy in check and bring him back down to Ebenezer and put your foot on his neck. And he refused to follow his father. And years later, Daddy King said he was glad that his son did it his own way. And we also got to remember, April 4th is also the death date of Reverend Adam Clayton Powell Jr., who was the greatest black politician this country has ever seen. He was the Michael Jordan or LeBron James or whoever the hell y'all think is great at basketball. He was that great. He was the father of the Great Society program for LBJ. He started Affirmative Action, all that stuff. Legislative genius. He had to go his own way. His father was a very prominent minister at Greater Abyssinia. But Adam Powell was doing stuff in the 30s that Dr. King and them only begun to do in the 50s. He was already doing bus boycotts and boycotting businesses up in New York City to hire black folk. And he chose to be black. He didn't have to be black. He chose to be black. And that's more powerful than just being. Because he made a choice. He could have lived as a white man, but he loved his people so much. So the black church was not always supportive of our leadership. But you look at some of our greatest leaders, Nat Turner, Harriet Tubman. They were all preachers at the black church. You look at John Coltrane, both of his grandfathers were AME ministers. You know what I'm saying? So it's all types of ways to look at it, but the black church has neglected its duty. They got to go back to the reason why they was founded in the first place. White folks didn't want nothing to do with them. That's why they founded the black church. So everything we do is a response to this system that does not love us. If you even look at the Negro Leagues were making way more money than white baseball was. Black and whites loved the Negro Leagues, but they used Jackie Robinson as an economic Trojan horse to destroy black business. Jackie Robinson was confused. He got it at the end of his life, but it was too late.
Okay, let's
But the owner of the team he played for the Negro Leagues, the Kansas City Monarchs, was J.L. Wilkinson. He was a white man, the only one that owned a baseball team outright in the Negro Leagues. He was friends with Branch Rickey. So it's always an inside job with these people. But the black church has neglected its duty. Bishop Henry Turner believed in guns. He believed in a black God, and he believed in black folks protecting themselves and not bowing down to the enemies to get slaughtered.
Okay.
When them 4 little girls got killed in Birmingham, Alabama, I went down to 16th Street Baptist Church.
We got to wrap it up.
You know what them Negroes did? They put up, them crackers blew the stained glass of white Jesus in the church. And them Negroes put another image of white Jesus in that same spot. It took white folks from Wales to raise money and put a black Jesus up in that church. That's how screwed up we are as a people. One of the first slave ships was the good ship Jesus, and we've been on that ship ever since.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ron. You,
I don't go to church. I don't dress up.
I need to hear my tax up around here.
Ron, you several years ago, you protested against the Dabo machine, voting machine. Mm-hmm. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and it's been said that the voting machine is vulnerable to jerry rigging. Okay. Are you still concerned about the voting machines today and the vote?
Yes, I am. Well, I'm glad you brought that topic up. Those are one of the very serious topics. What that is facing us today as voters. We, myself, I started in 2005, and I didn't realize that there was improprieties going on in the voting process. Then myself and Minister Yahweh and some more people put together a coalition of election integrity. And we filed 2 or 3 lawsuits. We filed a federal lawsuit. Oh man, we went through a series of issues. But anyway, the result was that they ended up putting together a Vote Integrity Act. But prior to that, we had found out that these die voting machines, of course, are taking the vote. So what they're doing now, sad to say that, now I'm not trying to discourage anybody from voting. I'm just telling you, when you go vote, you just hope that your vote go to the person that you are voting for.
That's right.
Because it's serious issues going on. They're talking about it now on C-SPAN and everywhere that there have been problems. And Memphis has one of the worst voting apparatus in the country. I mean, it's been proven, but you can do your study through black box vote. But we filed a lawsuit, the lawsuit went through, and it got so serious that they ran our attorney out of town. And when we went to get our paperwork, all the paperwork was gone in his office. We had filed a couton, which means that if we discover, the couton means a whistleblower lawsuit, that means that if you discover a situation that they are taking government money and taking advantage of the citizen, then you're supposed to get paid. So it was $3 or $4 million on the line that I was supposed to get and several other people supposed to be getting for discovery. But you think that we got it? No, we didn't get it. We didn't get anything. They made the whole case disappear down in the Cherokee court. So that's the seriousness of what we're dealing with now. Even today, I just heard recently on one of the talk shows that if they don't do something this year, or they have to do something this year in order for it to make an effect in 2020. There's a star vote machine where they're trying to put where you can go vote and you can get a receipt and you can go back and check, but they have already disproved that machine. So what do? I spent most all my life registering people to vote. My mama worked at a register. My brother was the youngest elected official at age 22. I was involved in so many campaigns in my life, and I ran several times myself, and I just brought the discovery. And so, what do? I'm kind of at a stand fast what to do, other than I would say if you're going to run, you need to have you some IT experts.
Okay.
Or you almost get to the point now, you might have to have somebody that can run a computer every time they steal your vote. You're going to have to have somebody to type your vote back in. It's that serious, sir.
Okay, thank you, Rome. I was going to break it up into 2 parts, but since time is getting by us, we're going to keep going because it's getting good. Okay. All right. And at the end, then we'll have, if you have any questions, maybe they can answer it for you. Okay. Terrence. We're gonna talk about current issue, the removal of the Confederate monuments. How do you feel about that?
Smart.
Well, the statues should never have been here. With this being a black city, they should have been removed long ago.
How does that make you feel?
Well, those who support the statue being here do not live in the city. What it shows is that those outside of the city try to control the actions in the direction of the city. That's right. Those statues are there as a memory to black people to let them know that, yeah, you're the majority of the city, but we control the city, and we're controlling the city from outside of the city. I'm glad that they moved those statues. A lot of white folk are mad, and I'm glad.
Okay, thank you. And And from this point on, we should keep our answers a little short because we got so much we want to cover.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Let me switch to Ron. Ron, let's keep it short.
I'll try my best. Keep it on task. I'll try my best. You can cut me off. You the moderator. Cut my mic off.
Okay. No, I won't cut your mic off.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you think the removal of the statues or the monuments resolve the deep-seated angst between the white community and the black community?
We black folks sure do love symbolism, don't we? No, it doesn't resolve it because right across the river is Forest City, Arkansas. Found about you know who, Nathan Bedford Forest. And right across the street where those graves are still located is the Masonic Scottish Rite building. Albert Pike was the founder of the Ku Klux Klan. He used to live in Memphis back in the 1860s. He was the leader of the Democratic Party back then. The Klan is the invention of the Democrats. Nathan Bedford Forrest was a Democrat. He was a delegate for the 1868 convention. So the thing about it is, Albert Pike was from Boston. He's the only Confederate general with a statue in D.C. right across the way from the District of Columbia Appeals Court. They got a statue of Lincoln, and right across the way is Albert Pike, like Paul Bunyan, Santa Claus. And he was a Confederate general over the Cherokee Indians during the Confederacy, because the Cherokees, they owned slaves. They just had a lawsuit that was settled back in August, where the descendants of the freedmen sued them and successfully got their reparations as well as their citizenship status in the Cherokee Nation. That's a blueprint for us. What I'm saying is that was wasted political energy. It was wasted. That statue wasn't about nobody. It's a statue. The thing about it, I told the guys, the organizers of, every year, let me say this, I'm going to shut up for now. Every year, the Sunday before his birthday on July 13th, be about 1,000 white folks that go to Forest Park together in his honor, to honor him and his wife. And the thing about it is, I told them white folks, I'll be down there by myself sometimes, I'll be recording them, and I'm not trying to obstruct them, because grave lives matter too, grave plots matter too. And I told them, why don't y'all buy the land from the city? If y'all raise the money privately to put up that statue, and y'all should pay for the upkeep on the statue. We shouldn't be paying as a majority black city for their protection as well as the upkeep on the statue. My thing is, a lot of us still don't understand where we at right now.
Okay. Thank you. Ron. I'm going to ask you this question, and everybody knows your father, Mr. Ernest Withers. Mm-hmm. You mentioned your father. Your father had a saying, a slogan, "Pictures tell a story." Do you think? Well, let me rephrase it. How do you feel about the news break that your father had been an informant? How do you feel about that? I mean, did it bother you, the family?
Absolutely. I've been around the country, from Chicago to California, to share with the community, especially for those who did not know that. People who knew that and know that's a lie. The lie came from Mark Wischerski, who is the writer of the commercial.
Right.
And we're in the process now of doing some legal work to combat that. But Mark Wischerski has relatives in the FBI that I understand. Mark Wischerski, the writer of the commercial appeal, who's been in a commercial appeal capacity for 30 years. He knew Daddy for 17 years before Daddy died, but he never asked a question to him when he was alive. Mm-hmm. Mark Wischerski is only trying to make money. He is using, it just so happens that he is using the most popular person in the civil rights movement who has the most powerful images that he's trying to defame. It's more of a propaganda, it's more of a defaming of his character so they can devalue the world.
Did you ever get a chance to talk with Mark?
He never asked me any question. When he called me in 2010, one day before the article was to come out. He asked me, do you know we finna get ready to put an article in the paper about your father, Ma? I said, I don't know anything about it. I said, and now this is the same week my brother died. My brother Perry had died. I said, if you're gonna put anything on my family, you should put that about him as a teacher and also as a former writer of commercial film. But Marcus Skursky, we should find out who he is and who his alliances are.
So he had been working on this for years?
Yeah, I've been dealing with some real serious issues as it deals with the family legacy. There are some serious powers that be that wants to really take control of our legacy, but it's in the trust. They have not been able to penetrate it, so they've used other means, and that was one of the means. That was also the same year that we were in line to receive a $400,000 grant, but when some of the people in the Corn administration that we had applied for a couple of years back, when that was about to be approved, and that was going to be the money that we were going to need to archive our own and make our collection totally independent of itself.
Let me ask you this, Brom. If it had not been for your father's contributions to the movement with his photographs, what do you think would have happened? I mean, there are a lot of photos that your father contributed to the movement, and he actually documented what went on.
Yep.
So, if it had not been for your father, would you say that a lot of people would not have known what took place back in those days?
It never would have known. Not only were Ernest Withers and the sons, there were some of the photos you see, you think they're Ernest Withers, but some of them, the picture while in the bed was a picture taken by my brother, Perry Withers. My brother was down there in 1956 with Daddy. So everywhere we went, we all had cameras. There wouldn't even be an I Am a Man part. It wouldn't even be an I Am a Man image if it hadn't been for him. I was there and with him, and when the picture was taken. Now, of course, I was one of two people behind the camera at the time. I had two other brothers who were photographers too. Now, these are some of the things that they don't want to come out, because there are a lot of images that can tell the story of the community and to increase the interest of this community, enthuse the community through weddings, church organization, Bill Street Life, Negro Baseball. No, of course it wouldn't even be a civil rights history told if it wasn't for my father,
Hank.
who almost died many times for trying to get photographs.
Hank, you were there back in the movement. You knew Mr. Withers as well. And we're not just going to focus on Mr. Withers, but back in the day, you were a Panther. Tell us about that. How did you get involved in being a Panther, and what motivated you?
What motivated me to join the Black Panther Party was the murder of Dr. Martin Luther King. Point blank period. I tried that nonviolent thing. I had the mace. I faced the bullies. It was the most frightening time of my life, straight up. It takes a lot of courage. I salute Jim Lawson. But when they killed the person who was leading us and encouraging us to be nonviolent, I said, if y'all will knock him off, I know what you'll do for me. So I decided that my posture was going to be one of self-defense. I went into the Black Panther headquarters at 815 East Macklemore, where I met a woman named Janice Payne. She was in charge. I wanted to know where my gun was. She looked at me and she said, no, young brother, we're about serving the people. Now, if you want to be a member of the Black Panther Party, this is what I need for you to do. We got kids going to school hungry. We need help with getting food for our breakfast program. We got people who need clothes. We need help with that. And so my job became survival program coordinator. When I said we did the first sickle cell testing, it was because that was my job in the Black Panther Party. Okay? Now let me say a word about Ernest Withers. Is anybody here, other than the father of African April, David Hasty? Hey, David. remember an incident in Memphis that involved a young man named Elton Hayes. I don't know if any of you saw that copy of the Black Panther newspaper that came out with a picture of Elton in that coffin. I took the picture. Ernest Withers developed it. Pictures that came from here, Ernest Withers developed it. Why am I telling you this? Not to promote the Black Panther Party and tell you my history, but I want to be very clear about it. So what's that man's name? What was his name to lie on your daddy? Mark, whatever his face is. Piss ain't, whatever. When people tell you, show you who they are, believe them. That's who he is. But let me tell you what Ernest Withers showed me. I was in the Black Panther Party. We were hated. It was Panthers being killed all over the country. Some even killed in Memphis. If Mr. Withers had been a tool of the enemy, I wouldn't be sitting here today. There's nothing else to say about this.
Okay, let me go to Dr. Cottrell. Were you you remember, were you around here in Memphis during that time? Okay, so you're not native Memphian? Okay. Well, let me ask you something else then. Let's bring it up to date. Let's go to talk about Black Lives Matter. Okay. Is Black Lives Matter the new civil rights movement to you?
I mean, I think it's an evolution of what that was. I won't discount it. All of it's needed to push us to where we should be. So the political side of it is what it is. Our young people are driving it, and that's important that they're involved. But still, I think there's an imbalance. And the imbalance is simply economics. We can sit and go back and forth, just like with the statue. Within the whole radius around, and I'm not jumping off course, I just have to say this, from Mtenzi all the way to Poplar, all the way back up to Danny Thomas, and then back up to Union, black people don't own any other property. So without economic control, your voice has become minimal. So Black Lives Matter movement, so impacting socially and in the media, where's the economic base for? And without that, and I'm a capitalist, and I'm just talking about money because that's what it's going to take to protect our children and lay a foundation. It's going to take revenue. You ain't going to pray your way out of this. Churches aren't inheritable. My son can't inherit your church, so that's not something that I can leave behind. So what are we going to leave the children behind? Movements are fine. Marching is all good. I don't discount anything people do to express themselves because they have a right to do it. I don't have anything negative to say about it. But in the overall view of it, how does it move us forward? Every time we come together, something foundational should come out of it. Sitting here today, when I look at where we are, something should come out of it. What would it take for us to open a fresh vegetable market? We got enough people in here to put $100 together and you got it. That's what has to happen. Because without control, you just got conversation. I come from a family of drug dealers. We control the block. And when I say we control the block, we own property in the block. Candy Lady lived in a house and we rented her. Nothing could happen without me knowing. Because that's control. And until we get to this clear understanding of where we live in this country, it's about capitalism. You ain't got no political, your vote is minimal because you ain't got no money to go with it. So the movements, Black Lives Matter, the galvanization of our youth, awesome. Because they are unafraid. And I think that's what it takes.
Thank you. Thank you. Terrence, you're probably the youngest one on the stage, I guess, outside of Hank. Yeah, no. But Your generation, do you think your generation is being heard today?
I think my generation is being heard because they've been denied a voice for so long. They're making their voices heard. They're making use of social media and whatever, however the media has discounted them. They've taken control of, or we've taken control of social media and used it to control our narrative and tell our story. So many of these murders that have taken place around the world, if it wasn't for social media, we would not have learned about it. Many of us have, we stopped watching the news because it's so negative. But social media, we find out, we learn what's going on, what's happening. So, yes, we're using social media. We're making our voices heard.
So what can pioneer civil rights freedom fighters like Mr. Panther and what can the old freedom fighters do for your generation? What can they do for your generation?
They can provide us with encouragement. They can, we need elders. Elders are important in our community, so we need to know these stories. Many of these stories that are the experiences that Hank and Rome and Dr. Futrell have experienced, we're not aware of. So allow us to, we need to be open and available to hear their stories and appreciate them.
Okay. Let's go to Ron.
Yeah, let's go to Ron. Let's go to him.
Ron, what do you think about Black Lives Matter? And not just Black Lives Matter, but there are other groups that are springing up too. You got the Me movement, Me Too movement, and I mean other groups that are springing up around the country. What do you think about all of that?
Let me say this before I start. Old folks for advice, young folks for the fight. Old folks for advice, young folks for the fight. You gotta fight for what you want. You gotta be willing to die for what you want. Dr. King said a man ain't want to die for anything, he ain't fit to live. You need to bleed. You bleed for the white man, you gotta bleed for yourself. Bleed, goddamn. Okay, let's go back to Brother Malcolm X. Brother Malcolm X said that media is the most powerful entity on the planet because it controls and influences the minds of the masses. If you don't control your media, you can't control your outlook. You can't control your vision. Let's get back to George Soros. I didn't even say George Soros. Let's talk about Black Lives Matter. There's a tale of two Black Lives Matter. I will always tell people, listen to Malcolm X from November 10th, 1963. His message to a grassroots. That is a classic. There is no excuse why I can't listen to a whole Malcolm X speech. You're not a Malcolmite if you never listen to one entire Malcolm X speech. Malcolm X broke down the farce on Washington, aka what y'all know as the March on Washington. See, if you don't control your money, you can't control your destiny. If you don't control your food, you don't control your education, you have no destiny. You have none. Marcus Garvey said that the modern lifestyle will be the death of the Negro. When they cut us off from our land, that was the death of us. We have no business up in here on this plantation. But what I'm saying is, what Malcolm did with the message to a grassroots, he showed you the money behind the so-called Big Six. When people with money can select your leaders and can control your agenda, you have no movement. You just have a room full of fools. But what I'm saying is, I was there during the Ferguson uprising. I saw how things evolved from it being grassroots. They're gonna take grassroots because black power is unity and solidarity. White power is divide and conquer. You living in a white inferiority system. They recessive. We dominant. But when we go against our own best interest, we have fought. But what I'm saying is, follow the money. Who write the paychecks? Who picked the leadership? Follow the money. So there's two Black Lives Matter because I don't know y'all are aware of some of the grassroots leaders in the Ferguson movement have been getting assassinated, been knocked out, and these are alpha males, alpha black males. Because Black Lives Matter, as we know it, was founded by some lesbians. And go to their Black Lives Matter website. I ain't getting no sponsorship, I don't care. Go to Black Lives Matter website The man is mentioned nowhere on the website. The black man is absent from that website. I'm gonna tell you something. Do a little study of the Montgomery bus boycott. 381 straight day thing where all blacks did not ride the bus. You know why it worked? Because you had black manhood standing with black womanhood, standing with the children. That's the real holy trinity. The black man, woman, and child is the holy trinity. When we work together on one accord, we can accomplish anything. They were raping black women in Montgomery. You had white bus drivers and police officers and taxi cab drivers raping black women. Don't forget about Reese Taylor, who got raped, gang raped, coming home from a black church. September 3rd, 1944. The NAACP from Montgomery sent up Rosa Parks to investigate that. See, when you can't protect your women, if you can't protect your home, you can't do shit for me. You can't protect your ass. You can't protect your backside. You can't do shit for me. I'm gonna tell you the truth. When Magic Johnson said something when he got his Freedom Award about 10 years ago, he said something that was very powerful. He said, now you have more black millionaires than you did in 1960, but you had more black businesses back then. See, the movement was made by the black entrepreneurs. Think about Alabama, A.G. Gaston. The wealthiest black man in Alabama was bailing Dr. King out of jail. He was putting up Dr. King in his hotel. He had a construction company. He had the ear of the Chamber of Commerce because he sat on the Chamber of Commerce because he had capital. He had ownership. But the thing about it is, A.G. Fuller, S.B. Fuller, excuse me, look him up. He was the wealthiest black person in America. He got Memphis roots. Him and A.G. Gaston approached Dr. King, said the city wanted to sell the bus company. And Dr. King, because he's Dr. King, he ain't no businessman. He didn't know no better. But years later, the mountaintop speech, what did he say? He said, invest in black businesses, banks, insurance companies, boycott Wonder Bread, boycott Coca-Cola, boycott Harsh Bread. If you can sit in an integrated restaurant but can't afford a hamburger, you shit out of luck. He didn't say that, I said that. So, be willing to fight for what you want. These were World War II veterans and Korean War veterans. These black men that were protecting these black women in Montgomery were brothers who learned how to fight under Uncle Sam.
Okay, we're running out of time.
And MLK, he had protection. The reason why he got shot, because he had no armed black man around him he could trust. Because for defense, protecting him on March Against Fear. Captain Jerry Williams was still alive. He was responsible for the police security detail for Dr. King. He was not allowed to do his job because who controlled the Memphis Police Department and Fire Department? Frank Holloman. And who sent Frank Holloman? J. Edgar Hoover. That was his number 3 man. He worked for the FBI for 25 years. It's Daniel and the Lions Den. This is bullshit. It's always an inside job. It's not just with Jesus and Judas. But Dr. King saw it coming though. But that's another story. I'm gonna shut up.
Okay, let's wrap.
Yeah.
What we're gonna do here, I appreciate the wisdom and all of that. We are out of time. And what we're going to do right now is, do you have any? You want to do?
Time is flying, man. It's flying.
All right. What we're going to do, we're going to ask the audience whether or not you have any questions for the panelists. Anybody? Yes, ma'am, what's your name?
Zandra Giles. Zandra Giles.
Zandra Giles? Okay.
Giles,
you got the mic.
There you go.
And let's be concise.
And brief.
And brief.
Yes, we can.
I just want to know, do you think we don't support each other because of envy or because we're afraid?
Okay, who do you want to answer that?
Anybody?
Okay, let's Dr. Petrillo.
Dr. Petrillo.
I think the true legacy of American chattel slavery, I think the true legacy of American chattel slavery destroyed our ability to have relationships. It destroyed our ability to trust one another. And without trust, then you really can't have a friendship, marriage, or a business. So simply, I don't think it's just so much a matter of black on black hate. I just think what has happened to us can't be minimized, because when I see you as this stranger, a distant stranger. So that in lies the effect of American chattel slavery, and I think that's the reason for it.
Anybody else?
Dr. Acey.
Dr. Acey?
I'd like to follow up on that question. The reason we don't trust each other, slavery cut us off from our history and culture. Y'all have to understand that. Most of us don't even want to talk about slavery.
That's right.
Like something happened back then. But culture is what water is to a fish. If you take a fish out of water, what would happen to the fish? Well, we take a people out of culture, what would happen to the people? So we've died spiritually, culturally, and every other way. But it's not really our fault, because they brought us from our homeland to a strange land. Forbid us to practice any of our rituals, to speak our own language. And for 310 years, that's a long time, enslaved us. They didn't come to Africa and get a slave, they came to Africa and got a human being and a man. They made him into a slave. But how do you make a slave? You take him out of his indigenous country, you take his language, you take his culture, you take his history, then you force him to learn yours. Then you do that for 310 years. So we've been cut off from our history. All of the immigrants that came in through Ellis Island, they came in with their own baggage, their own culture, their own history and everything, and they reproduced themselves, right? So we've been cut off. So we've been watching too many Tarzan movies. We don't even know who we are. This serious business. So we like a freshwater fish that's been put in the salt water. Once you put a freshwater fish in the salt water, he loses his balance. He can't swim right. He don't know where he's going. He don't know what's happening. It's our job to take that freshwater fish out of the salt water and put it back into the freshwater. Then he becomes agile, he becomes inherent, he gets his own sense back. So that's what we tried to do with African April, is to get y'all back in some fresh water.
Thank you, thank you.
But it's so hard. I've traveled 16 African countries, met with presidents, trying to get the brothers to go over there to take over to make some of this money that the doctor's talking about. They tell me I don't want to go back to Africa. Are you crazy? Who's in Africa? The Chinese, Bill and Mars. They're all over. I met the president of Senegal when he came to Memphis, rented him a limousine. He went to the Civil Rights Museum and he was purchasing stuff. And I paid for it. He said, no. He said, I must do this for Dr. King. And when I'm president, I will never forget you. And he's the president of Senegal. But I can't get the brothers to go over.
That's all right.
The musicians, everybody, they want us. But we're afraid to go. First, we don't know anything about Africa. We think it's all crazy.
We got a couple more questions.
Okay, but anyway, we've been cut off from our history. Until you can get into yourself, we will not trust each other. That's the man's job. It's to divide and conquer. It's easy, divide and conquer.
Thank you, Dr.
The question is whether we go from here. The question is whether we go from here. The answer is black love.
Black on black love, baby. Black on black love. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Okay, stand up. What's your name? Give your name.
My name is Fahar Farmer.
Okay, and your question is to Terrence. Okay.
As far as the things that we're doing in the city and as young people of America, what do you see the future of what they're doing as far as Black Lives Matter, all the different organizations? What do you see is the future, the next 10 years of what the young people is doing right now?
I see a focus in a direction along the lines that Dr. Cottrell mentioned and others, to where we realize that economics is our only solution, that listening to our elders, learning our culture and our history, and building for the future. That understanding that we are the leaders that we've been waiting for.
That's right.
Dr. King, Malcolm, and others, they came and they laid a beautiful foundation. Now it's time for us to build upon that foundation that they've laid.
Okay, Tony Green, you got a question?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Sister Tony.
My question is to the panel. In 1983, I left Memphis, Tennessee. When I came back, Beale Street was gone for me.
That's right.
I'm a musician, singer. All my friends were on Beale Street singing for tips. From 11 a.m. in the morning until about 8 p.m. in the evening. A whole band making $35 for the whole day. All of a sudden, Beale Street was taken over. Used to be back in the day, white folks didn't even go on Beale Street. I wonder what happened. How did you let it go? I mean, all the aficionados just gave up. I was so hurt. Still messed up about it. Because there's none of us really on the board talking and helping and pushing for my job. I go all over the world. Love me to death. I come here I can't even get nobody to come to the airport to give me a rose. But I'm on the Grammy Awards, I'm all over the world doing everything. It's hurtful.
Yeah.
But the new music, really the new genocide to me is that we've been taken over. If a white woman sings on television, she's singing like me. Oh, everybody's like, ooh, she can sing, she can sing, she can sing. But this is our culture. This is what we've been doing all of our lives, but I can't get nothing.
That's right.
And I know it sounds like I'm angry because I am.
That's right. You own that anger.
I'm angry.
Own it.
Because this has been my life, all of my life.
That's right.
And my children sacrificed. I had to sacrifice to make sure they had a meal through this music. But I come back home to Memphis, Tennessee. That's supposed to be the #1 music country city in the world outside of Nashville, but we gave up.
Yeah.
What happened? Somebody help me.
Hank, answer
That's a great question.
Well, ownership. You know what happens, Tony, you've seen it before. People will get started, people will start asking questions and beating on institutions and demanding change. And then the next move is you pick off the leadership one at a time. As you appropriate somebody's culture, you find the leaders and you pick them off, you give them a 2-cent job, tell them, you give them a title, and then they shut the heck up. That's what happened to Bill Street. K-Tron fought it until he died. I believe I met one black man on Bill Street that owns a business. That's what happened.
Does he own it?
Clark,
Yeah.
Clark, down at the t-shirt shop on the east end of Bill Street, Hill and 4th Street.
But how did he get that? I'm just saying, one man that owns one shop, and when everything on Bill Street was owned by all black folks. Nobody but black folks own Bill Street.
I'm the wrong one to answer that, because I've spent my life trying to feed people, get utility bills paid, get them health care. So I'll give you somebody that's more business minded.
Community and all. I'm sorry I'm interrupting, but we have none in the music community. I own my music. I'm a publisher and a writer. I have a discography of about 25 to 30 songs that I own.
That's right.
But I can't get my brothers and my sisters down there to do anything because they have to go and make a little bit of living, $35 to split upon 7 people for a whole day. Somebody help me.
Bill Street can talk, man.
Tony, and I think
Rome, this will be, after you finish, this will be it, okay?
I'm sorry, y'all. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
No, you let it out. You in the right place. House of
I
worship.
think that should be moved. I got a call last night that there's an interest to get a black pub back on Bill Street. There are no black entertainment clubs anywhere on Bill Street. I don't think any other than Paradise is a new beginning. But I say this, I grew up as a child working on Bill Street, and I saw the heyday of Bill Street.
Yeah.
I was 155, so I spent most of my photography, learning about photography down on Bill Street. I swept the floors, I swept the sidewalk, I saw my dad clean up, stand the statue, and a lot of things. So I saw the heyday of Bill Street, and I saw the entrepreneurs, the pool tables, the doctors, and the lawyers. I saw all of those entertainment. Now, a lot of things happen, and I don't think I can really go into detail and tell you what it really happened, but of course politics became the reason. I think a lot of it had to do with, like he said, that we have got people in position who will not stand up for their culture.
That's right.
They will not stand up for their own families. Some of them are selling their own families out. So Bill Street is still our street, but we got to put the people in position to move to the economic business opportunity to make it happen.
All right, thank you.
Okay, this is what we're going to do. We have one more person, and then after that, we're going to let Mr. Henry do a closure.
Thanks a lot. Mine is more of a statement than a question. I'm organizing the Memphis National Reflaying Ceremony for the 4 Pillar soldiers who died on April the 12th, 1864. They died under the command of Nathan Bedford Forrest, but they were fighting for us to be free. So I'm hoping that this interview y'all have tonight, y'all take the time to come out there at 10 o'clock and give honor to these soldiers.
Miss Callie Hurd, you didn't mention your name.
Oh yeah, Callie Hurd runs wrong.
Thank you.
Young man, you said, what do we do? In order to know where you came from, you need to know your history. For those people to lie in those graves and us sit here and not even go up there to say thank you, because we're putting 109 white carnations on over 170 black soldiers who have their remains only there. And we're putting 65 carnations on the Union white soldiers. And we're having a big celebration. So we hope that you take your lunch at 10 o'clock and be at the Memphis National Cemetery, because for 153 years they hid the bodies. And we found them last year. So we're going to keep on doing it, and we hope that y'all understand that in order to know where you came from, you got to know the beginning history, okay?
Thank you.
What day is it? What day is it? What day is it?
Thursday, April the 12th at 10 o'clock a.m.
Thank you.
Okay, panelists, we're gonna, after Mr. Henry wraps up, we want you guys to stay on the stage for a second. And then we have a couple of people that were waiting to give us some entertainment, and we're gonna allow them to come up. We hope that you guys will stay for that as well. Mr. Henry.
All right, this concludes our forum. We fight on to the finish. And we want to, why don't you give our panelists a big hand?
Thank you. All right, thank you. We love y'all. We love you. Thank you.
And I think we covered a range of topics. Hopefully you all enjoyed and learned something from our pioneers here on stage, a diverse group here. So we appreciate you coming by. We appreciate you sharing the forum with us, and hopefully you'll leave with something. So this concludes the forum, and I appreciate you allowing me to be your moderator.
Thank you.
Thank you, and we appreciate you.
We appreciate you, man. I definitely, this was something great. Let's give the panel and Mr. Henry a big round of applause.